Good day. My name is Jeffrey Cairns. Welcome to Emotional Awareness. This is an intro to As Left. Good day. My name is Jeffrey Cairns. Welcome to Emotional Awareness, an intro to As Left. My name is Jeffrey Cairns. I am a personal recovery coach, public speaker, emotional consultant, and the founder of the As Left Foundation. See, a little bit about me. Years back, I once broke my life on a very epic level, and the result I got from all those experiences was depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, suicidal thoughts, and yes, I was very mentally ill. But what I didn't realize was that I was emotionally ill, which was creating these mental illnesses. So, what I'm about to teach people and bring out to the world, which is As Left, um, as a broken human being, I had no energy. But when I learned emotional awareness, what my emotions are, how they're generated, how do we heal them, I now teach people how to heal in any of all their emotional pain. And I promise you, this is the only douchey pic I will post of myself. Let's move along. So before we get started, because I teach people how to heal emotional pain, whenever I make this intro, I always get the feedback or the pushback that, you know what, Jeff, you don't know me. You don't know my life, what I've been through, what I'm going through. You don't know my pain. And I'll be honest, this is the kind of response I used to give when I was suffering, that you don't know my pain. And you're absolutely right. I don't know your story. I don't know anybody's story. But I do know that these stories created pain, because it's only our stories that are unique, not the emotions they created. So let me give us an example. One life event can create so many negative feelings and emotions like anger, hate, fear, shame, regret, and guilt, not limited to, just showing an example. The mind doesn't know where to begin to process them, and it leaves us feeling numb or detached, aka emotional trauma, because nobody taught us. The mind needs to do something that it's taught. No one ever taught us to deal with our emotions. See, a lot of people are going through, say, a divorce or co-parenting. Not everybody, but that situation could be, that experience could be generating anger, fear, spite, regret, guilt, and shame, among others, but this is just some. See, a loss of a job can create guilt, shame, anger, fear, regret. Different instances, but the emotions are still the same. See, like injury or disease, the emotions that they can create: guilt, shame, anger, fear, regret, and death of a loved one, which is very huge. Like everyone expects that we lose somebody, we're just sad, or that's what we should be feeling, or whatever. But really, we could be feeling a whole bunch, and we usually are. We're sad that they're gone, we're angry that they're gone, we're fearful that they're gone, we're guilty that we didn't get to say or do things, we have shame because we never got to heal certain things. All this is putting us in just despair and feeling of regret. So regret, common emotion, sadness, anger, fear, guilt, shame, despair, again, can be common, but it's a different event from everybody else. Abuse. I don't think there's a need to put up pictures of it. We all know what it is. It can be physical, verbal, or sexual. And those type of abuses can generate anger, fear, spite, regret, guilt, and shame. Not limited to, I'm just trying to paint a picture here. So see, our story is unique, and it's unique only to us. Nobody knows what we're going through. Nobody knows what we've been through because of the uniqueness of it. But say like a graduation or a promotion, achieving goals, marriage, birth of a child, those can all generate love, joy, and peace. Some of them can even create fear, anger, guilt, and shame. Birth of a child. Um, you could feel guilty because whatever reason. You could feel shameful because how the pregnancy went down. It doesn't matter. It's just a unique experience, but you can feel so many different type of emotions from it, or feelings. Job loss, divorce, death, disease, childhood abuse. Again, you could be feeling a whole different mix of emotions. Even with disease and death of a loved one, you could still be feeling all the negative emotions, but you could be at peace that they're not suffering anymore, or the love that you shared at the end. So Again, different experiences can generate different emotions, but the common denominator is the feelings and the emotions. And when I speak of emotions and feelings, I kind of smorgasbord them all together. There's no need to split hairs here. I really don't have the time. So again, on the right-hand side, you got the process. So our story is unique, the emotions that we can feel are not, and the process again goes back into uniqueness. What we do with these emotions again is unique only all to us. Exercise, sports, sex, food, alcohol, drugs, suicide. I'm sure you can match up the emotions to the processes. But again, the emotions is really dictating kind of our processes. Is emotional awareness different from mental awareness? Yep, it is very much so. It kind of deters me a little bit that when they say mental awareness, they give a small snippet to emotional. And as human beings, we think and we feel. It's actually we feel then we think, but I'll get into that later. Mental awareness, thinking versus emotional awareness, feeling. Big difference. Yes, they are intertwined, but it's a big difference. And I need to separate that to show you if you're going to learn how to heal yourself or someone you care about. So, with mental awareness, cognitive thinking, it's changing the thinking to change the feelings. So, examples CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, ABC. We have an action, we witness an action, we have a feeling first, and then we have a behavior, and then the consequences for that behavior. So what they try and do in CBT is get you to become right aware as soon as you feel it after witnessing the experience, change the programming, and therefore change the behavior, change the consequences. So this is the way I've looked at mental awareness after learning emotional awareness. Trying to think your way out of emotional pain is like a salmon trying to swim upstream. Your chances of success are slim. It's tough. It's not easy. You're trying to change such a small piece of your mind to the bigger piece. So, mental awareness, therapy. Try to change your thinking or our thinking while medicating our feelings. This is $1 trillion industry. Medicating our feelings while trying to change our thinking. Emotional awareness. What is it? It's working and understanding that it's our emotions are creating the way we think and the way we act. So we feel, we think, we act, not think, feel, act. The limbic system dominates the cortex. This is on a biological level. So how we're feeling subconsciously is dictating our thoughts. So really quickly, the cortex asks the limbic, because cortex thinking, limbic emotions and feelings. Cortex like limbic, how are you feeling? Limbic's like, well, I'm feeling like crap. Okay, well, here comes some crappy thoughts. Then all of a sudden we have coffee. Limbic, how are you feeling? Feeling pretty good. Okay, we're gonna have some positive thoughts. Or we have a drink. Limbic, how you feeling? I'm pretty good in the first round, and but by the fifth round, all this anger's now come up, so I've got angry thoughts. So our limbic tells our cortex what to do or how to think, if you will, in a way. So why do we need to learn about emotional awareness? Because depression, anxiety, addiction, suicide, it's all on the rise. And what's even worse, it's starting to affect our children at younger ages. Teen suicide is up, anxiety, depression, all these mental illnesses are hitting our youth at such a young age. And why? Because nobody's learning emotional awareness. Oh, have you ever heard this saying before? Because everybody is fighting a battle we know nothing about. What does that mean? They're not thinking about it all day. You see them at work, they're doing their job, but you can just tell they're fighting through something and they're fighting to be happy. That's the subconscious, conscious pain that you're trying to get out of on a mental level. And what is it doing? It's draining us. It's keeping our mind in the past while going into the future and avoiding the present moment. So we're literally carrying around toxic emotions, anger, fear, guilt, shame, just to name a few, in our body. And again, that stuff we're trying to be strong and carrying is affecting our thinking and pulling our mind into the past and back into the future. And it's not good. So what happens when we carry negative emotions for too long? They manifest into disorders like depression, anxiety, PTSD, addictions, and suicide because of the way we feel. So depression, anxiety, addiction, PTSD, suicide. what's the one major thing that they all have in common is they are all rooted in emotional pain. It's the common denominator for these feeling disorder for a mental disorder. I hope I'm painting a clearer picture for you now. Every 40 seconds, this blew my mind. Every 40 seconds, somebody somewhere has successfully committed suicide. And that's not counting the attempts that are survived. Why? It's because of the way they felt, and it's the way we feel. It's not the way we think. The way we think is being dictated by the way we feel. Again, one life event can create so many negative feelings and emotions. The mind doesn't know where to begin to process because no one ever taught us. The mind doesn't know how to compartmentalize emotions, like doesn't know how to deal with anger at anger's point, doesn't know how to deal with just hate, doesn't know how to deal with just fear or just shame. It's all a big smorgasbord. And it's too much. It's like that bottleneck theory. It's that nothing's going through and the mind is like, I can't solve this, so I'm just going to make the body feel it. And if we feel all these emotions all at once, we just become numb or detached. And if we carry it for too long, then we just think that's normal and that's life. That's terrifying. So what do people usually tell us when we've been through some emotional trauma, like one of those events I explained? Don't worry, give it time. Time heals all wounds. And really, that's the worst advice ever. Okay, they're not trying to hurt us by saying it, but it's the worst advice ever because what's going to happen is that all the experiences we went through and all the unhealed pain attached to it gets moved from our conscious mind into the subconscious mind, and it's now affecting our reality. So we went through that terrible event or a couple of terrible events, and eventually we just one day wake up or something happens and we forget about it. But we didn't really forget about it. What happened is that that event and all that pain went into our subconscious mind. It went into the dark room. All those feelings went into our body. Yes, they lay dormant until our subconscious gets triggered. And how does our subconscious get triggered? By the five senses. And then the sixth sense is if I think about it again. So if I think about it, it hurts. If I see something that reminds me, it hurts. If I taste something that reminds me, it hurts. If I hear something that reminds me, it hurts. You can see something, you get the idea. That's the trigger. That's your subconscious because we don't know what's going on in the subconscious. It talks to us through feelings. So every time we get triggered, we got pain. That's the subconscious telling the conscious mind, yo, we got some things to work about. But we don't do that. We move along. So again, when we carry up too much pain, our individual reality is made up of our perception of it. So our perception comes from our attitudes and our core beliefs, which are developed from our life experiences. And all unhealed life experiences creates negative attitudes and beliefs, creating a darker perception of reality. I hope that makes sense. Because you ever meet that person in life and they got a dark perception of reality. It's all that pain just bubbling near the surface. And it's just like, okay. And it affects their reality. So that like if I'm carrying hate, I see hate in the world. If I'm carrying anger, I see anger in the world. If I'm carrying sadness, I see sadness in the world. So what we're seeing is affecting our reality, which, our perception. How are we coping with all this pain, aka stress? Well, drugs, alcohol, sex, those are the top three. But you have internet, gambling, doesn't matter. Or people who go into other people's drama because they can't solve their own. So we're always looking for a distraction because we're scared of the way we feel. So here's your crash course in emotional awareness. I'm going to try and get through this as fast as possible. And I want to answer the questions. What is an emotion? How are emotions created? What do we do with our emotions? How do emotions affect our thinking, mental health? What do emotions do to our body on a physical level? And how do we heal our emotions naturally? This is the hook right here. So what is an emotion? It's funny because I pulled there's different definitions of what emotions are, and I'll go through them. A natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Okay. What is an emotion? Emotion is a mental state associated with the nervous system brought on by chemical changes variously associated with thoughts, feelings, behavioral responses, and a degree of pleasure or displeasure. There was currently no scientific consensus on a definition, meaning Everything is still theory. Okay? But let's keep it simple. Your mind will think it, your body will feel it. Simple enough. How are emotions created? Our mind creates them. And not our brain, but our mind, our core belief. Our mind and brain are separate. Like our brain makes the fingernails grow, makes our hair grow, makes the diaphragm go up and down. But our mind is seductive. Our mind can create feelings. Our mind has different psyches to it. It's not the brain, but our mind created our core beliefs. See, everyone knows about the ego psyche, but what most of us don't know is when does it develop? And the ego is me, myself, and I. That's the ego psyche. And it's developed by the age of 2. What about me? What about my feelings? And the emotions behind that is what can be generated or pumping it is anger and fear. So do you ever think there's a correlation between the terrible twos and the ego being fully developed? Again, our core beliefs are developed by the age of 6 and 7. How we're going to love or fear in this life is developed by the time we learn up to tie up our shoelaces. That's a lot of pressure on parents because after that, everything's just unprogramming. So we have, when it comes to the mind, we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. We have the super subconscious, but let's just keep this simple. So the conscious mind, critical thinking, logical thinking, short-term memory. That's what you're aware of. Your subconscious, your core beliefs, your emotions are there, your self-image is there, your habits, your cores and values, right and wrong, long-term memory, and your imagination. But put it on another level, your first argument is there. How did that go? Did you heal that? Because if you didn't, it's still sitting in your body and in your mind. Your first time failing, how did that go? Did you heal that? First time getting in trouble, did you heal that? Did you get rid of the guilt, the shame? The first time being let down, did you get rid of that emotions? Did you process that well? Because if not, that pain is sitting in the subconscious. How about the first time feeling violated on any type of abuse? All that pain is sitting there. Did you heal it? Because if not, it's affecting your reality. And my favorite, your first heartbreak. How did that go? Because usually that will dictate your future relationships. Emotional awareness. We need to start drilling it into us. We feel, we think, we act. And over 90% of it is a subconscious reaction. You're driving along, you see something that offends you. You didn't have time to really think and process it. The feeling came to the surface, then the thoughts matched it. And, you might go out and do something to the person because you don't like the feelings. How do our negative emotions affect our thinking, our mental health? Well, the more negative pain we carry, the more negative our thinking mental patterns become. From carrying a whole bunch of guilt and shame, there's a great chance I'm going to have depressive thinking, depressive thoughts, depressive behavioral patterns. So, because it's at the emotional level. And this is one thing a lot of people don't realize is that we have a voice in our head. And just to prove that, just read this slide silently and put up your hand just to prove you have a voice. Now, this voice sounds like us, okay, to most of us, but it's coming from a different psyche, which meaning it's coming from a different compartment. Same voice, different compartment. And I drew a picture there. So there's the thoughts on the left-hand side. Now, what is generating those thoughts? They're coming from the psyche. We have most commonly the ego, me, myself, and I. What about me? What do people think of me? How will this make me look? And the feelings that generate, that pump up the ego is fear and anger. Our lower self, which they call the smaller I. You'll hear people say, my job, my life sucks, I'll never be happy, I don't deserve love. There is a lot of guilt and shame pumping those words. And then we have our higher self, empathy, compassion, non-judgmental. And that's when we're feeling love and joy, we have loving thoughts. Like what pissed us off before ain't pissing us off now because we just got love and joy. So if you ever want to talk to your higher self, you ask yourself one question whenever you're upset. And it sounds cheesy, but you say, what would love do? The answer you get is coming from your higher self. You might be feeling a whole bunch of guilt, shame, fear, and anger, and you don't want to listen to that answer, but that answer is the truth from that psyche. So what is a human being's natural state? For anybody who's suffering, this might sound ludicrous, but it's love, happiness, peace, and joy. And if you don't believe me, just look at a baby. The day we were born, one of the most tragic days we ever had on the planet. We were cooking for 9 months. Everything was going well. We were fed. We were warm. Hopefully, mom didn't drink too much. And one of the worst days we ever had in our life, we got pushed into a brand new environment. We're blind, we're deaf, we get cut from our food source, and we get spanked on our ass for our problems. That was the old days, but you know what I mean. It's one of the worst traumatic days of our lives, and we forgave it within seconds. But nowadays, we still might be pissed off at what Brenda said at the company party 2 years ago because we didn't know, we got programmed that crap out of us, how to get out of the now. Now, I want you to look at it that because love is our natural state, it's our benchmark. Don't treat it as an emotion because when you heal all the emotions, this is what you're back left feeling automatically. It's our benchmark. Where do we store our emotions? Well, our body. Duh. See, but a lot of people don't realize again is because from the subconscious is that all the pain, all our past experiences lay dormant in our body until they are triggered by the mind. And yeah, so all our first, what we didn't forgive or what we didn't forgive again and what we didn't accept, it's all there. It's all hurting us. Like Dr. Candace Pert, beautiful woman. I never got the chance to meet her, and when I already come out with L.E.F.T when I discovered her, and she's just pretty much backed up everything I believe and taught. So she's the beautiful woman who found the opioid receptor in the body, and from that point on, she's done over 200 papers, pretty much proving the effects of emotions in the body, and prove that they exist in the body outside the central nervous system with neurotransmitters, ligands, and yeah, I'm not a doctor, whatever. Gonna move forward. So this is some of her quotes. The chemicals that are running our body and our brain are the same chemicals that are involved in emotion. Mind doesn't dominate body, it becomes body. So that means all our past experiences, whether joyous, whether painful, is now in our body. The body is our subconscious mind. When I learned this, it kind of made sense because where do we put all our our past pain? It's in our body because that's how we experience it. It's not like we can't go out to the car and sit in it and be like, oh, that reminds me of 10 years ago. Like we can't, it's all in our body. Every time it gets triggered, it's all in our body. And we carry it for too long. We think that it's unhealable, which is a lie. Again, our core beliefs are developed by the age of 6 and 7. How we're going to love, how we're going to hate, developed by the time we tie up our shoes. That's crazy. Like that's just nuts. That's too much pressure. So good or bad, our past, subconscious feelings, emotions are stored up in the body, affecting our health and our reality. Any true healer can always pinpoint an emotional trauma with a physical trauma, like 90% of the time. Yes, there are some unexplainable ones like cancer or whatever, this and that. I'm not there at that scope, but I've had my own experiences with emotional trauma affecting my body. And when I healed that emotional trauma, my body healed almost instantly. You'd almost think it's magical, but we'll move forward. What do most of us do with our emotions? We suppress them, repress them, express them, and project them. And I'm going to get into a little bit about that. But really what we should be doing is surrendering to them. But let's move forward. So emotional suppression. Emotional suppression is conscious. So you see the experience, triggers the pain, and the conscious mind is like, no, I can't think like that. I can't feel like that right now. And so, yeah, what do? We push it back down into our body. So it's not healed. We're just trying to make it dormant again. And we probably created a little bit more because of the new experience we just witnessed. So yeah, that's suppression. That's pretty common. Then we have repressed emotions, the unconscious, emotional pain that we carry that we don't even know we are carrying. And when it comes out, oh, it's scary. It is scary. I've only witnessed it a few times in life with myself or even other people, and it's scary. They don't even know that. How do you know somebody's carrying repressed emotions? Pretty much, if they're telling you a story and they seem so detached, like it's a horrible story and they're detached from it, and you know they haven't healed from it just by what they're saying, that's a good sign that they've got repressed emotions. And yeah, you might not want to go poking the bear. So, emotional pain expression. So, there's healthy ways to get the pain out, like through music, 9 Inch Nails. Anybody who's listened to Trent Reznor knows that he got his pain out through his music and through his lyrics. And, suffering artists, they create some of the most beautiful visual spectacles we see. So I'm only giving two examples, but there's many more healthy ways to express our pain and get it out. Emotional pain expression, the unhealthy ways, violence and abuse. Usually the abuser has always been abused, but that doesn't give any right to do it or whatever. But it's just an understanding is that we're expressing our emotional pain in some of the most unhealthiest of ways when we turn violent or abusive. Or then we turn it inwards and we have self harm and we just cut ourselves because we just want to feel something because all that pain is in there. Emotional projection. We project what we feel pretty much. We can't give away what we don't have. And I'm looking at this on a negative angle, but yes, you can project love and joy and everything else. But anger, fear, guilt, and shame, foremost common. And usually, when somebody's telling you what your biggest problem is or how you feel, it's usually them telling you how they feel through emotional projection. What are negative emotions doing to our body? All our stored up negative emotions are putting our body into dis-ease. All that energy, all that fight to suppress is literally killing our organs and putting it into disease. It makes us susceptible. Like scientists can prove when somebody's depressed, they have a lower frequency, and because there's larger gaps, your immune system's down and stuff like that. So, but when you're joyous, you're healthy, and yeah, I think more and more people know that anyways, more than just say taking a pill. And a lot of people with our negative emotions that we're carrying, it just leaves us drained. We don't have the past healed, so what does the mind do? It projects itself onto the future, and because it doesn't know how to be in the present moment, it just drains us. Drains. And the more emotional pain we carry in our body, the easier it is to feel triggered. That's what it is. It's funny because everybody can see almost everybody today getting offended and getting offended. Like when somebody gets offended, all they're doing is they're showing you that they have emotional pain and they're not dealing with it right. And but they put it on other people to being like, don't trigger me. How could you trigger me? But basically is what we're doing is trying to get society to walk around on eggshells. And if you're the one who's getting triggered, you're the one who's crossing your fingers. You can go out in life that you don't have to heal your pain, but you don't have to be reminded of it anyways. And if you do, you feel triggered. How do we heal our emotions naturally? By learning 6 words. And I'm telling you, this is not a sham. This is not bullshit. This is straight up truth. Learn these 6 words the way they're supposed to be learned in the regards to healing: acceptance, surrender, love, empathy, forgiveness, and tolerance. As left. As you learn these 6 words and how they apply to your mind, your body, your past, and your future, you have no choice but to heal. Again, acceptance. Okay. Most people are depressed because they haven't accepted what's happening. They haven't said, it's okay, I'm okay, it's going to be okay. Surrender, non resistance to your feelings. They haven't surrendered to any of it. Love, they ain't feeling the love right now. But when we're surrendering to our emotions, the story comes up to what hurts us. That's forgiveness. In that moment, we can forgive the story to stop the pain and release it forever. And if we're having trouble with forgiveness, it's empathy. Use empathy to unlock forgiveness, and you're free. And what happens when we don't, or what happens when we do and we get rid of all the negative emotions? We're just left to our natural state, which is love, peace, love, joy. And tolerance is a good measuring stick of how you are in this life. How tolerant are you? What are you tolerating in your life? Are you angry? Are you pissed off? Are you beating yourself up because you're letting people walk on you? All this is on an emotional level of how you feel. And As Left heals it all, baby. 6 words to heal it all. There's no emotional problem. I've been doing this for 3 years. I've had different walks of life with different problems come to me, and there hasn't been an emotional problem that As Left can't solve yet. But if you're really going to sit there and try and debunk empathy and forgiveness and a part of healing, then I can't help you, and you just wasted some time watching the video. As Left, it's a new foundation. So I offer one-on-one sessions, 4-week emotional awareness course, because it takes 20 days, 21 days for the subconscious to kind of absorb new information. So 4-week emotional awareness course once a week for an hour or two, and we just go through and learning how As Left applies to your life. And I also do corporate presentations, which are the most badass presentations because there's no yoga involved. There's no meditation. It's just awareness. And what you learn, and this will help you, and not only help you, will help your family, anybody you care about that is suffering. And I'm going to use the word suffering and not sound dramatic. So the As Left Foundation, it's new, but the goal is to change the world and teach people how to change the way they feel, only if they want to. You can contact us or myself at asleft.com or jeffreycairns.com. And I will be doing videos, presentations for free. You just have to check the websites to find out when. And yeah, I thank you very much for watching and hope to see you later on.